You have found your way here at the end of the day, and that is exactly where you are meant to be. The waking world demands so much of your attention, asking you to hold on tightly to hours, to obligations, to a relentless sense of forward motion. But tonight is different. Right now, there is nothing you need to solve and nowhere else you need to be. You can simply exist in this quiet space, letting the weight of the day slip from your shoulders. It is time to let go. We are going to journey together into the most profound stillness on our planet, far beneath the turbulent surface of the waking world. You will drift through a realm where light fades into velvet shadow and time slows to a deep, resonant pulse. We will sink past the boundaries of the familiar, floating down into cold, quiet expanses where ancient life moves with slow, breathtaking grace. It is a place of heavy, comforting permanence, a world that asks nothing of you but offers endless, peaceful wonder. If this journey brings you a sense of calm, consider subscribing or leaving a quiet life. It is a small gesture that helps other weary minds find their way to this restful harbor. If you are ready, let us begin. Water does not just filter sunlight, it slowly unweaves the spectrum of colors you know from the surface. As you slip beneath the bright, rolling waves, the warm tones are the first to vanish. The immense liquid density absorbs red light almost immediately, taking the oranges and yellows with it. What remains is a beautiful, descending gradient of cool light. The bright, sharp aquamarine of the shallows deepens gradually, pooling into a rich, heavy indigo. You are suspended in a visual twilight where the world above is erased, leaving only the profound, soothing blue of the open ocean. It is a visual descent that cools the mind, washing away the bright noise of the day in favor of resting shadows. The deep ocean experiences a continuous slow-motion blizzard that never melts and never ends. Far below the reach of the sun, tiny organic particles drift downward in a mesmerizing, endless dance. This is marine snow, a delicate mixture of microscopic dust, discarded shells, and biological remnants falling gently from the bustling upper layers of the sea. Because the water is so dense and still, these flakes do not plummet. They twist, hover, and glide in a silent descent that can take weeks or even months to reach the ocean floor. It is a gentle rain of nourishment connecting the sunlit roof of the world to its darkest cellar. Watching it fall in the quiet dark feels like watching stars drift out of the sky, a slow and heavy settling of the world. There is an invisible, liquid ceiling in the ocean where the warmth of the sun is suddenly and permanently shut out. As you sink deeper, the water temperature does not drop gradually, but hits a sudden, distinct boundary known as the thermocline. Above this line, the water is mixed by wind and warmed by sunlight, full of restless energy. Below it, the ocean becomes sharply and consistently cold, forming a dense layer that refuses to mix with the bright water above. Passing through this barrier is like walking from a loud, heated room into a vast, chilled cathedral. The fluid suddenly feels heavier, more substantial against the skin, wrapping everything in a quiet, thermal embrace. It is the boundary where the ocean stops reacting to the sky and begins to dream its own deep, cold dreams. The largest mass migration on Earth happens not across grassy plains, but in a quiet, vertical commute happening twice a day. As the sun sets on the surface, billions of tiny organisms rise from the deep, twilight waters to feed under the cover of darkness. Copepods, krill, and small fish swim miles upward in total synchrony, a massive, hidden exhale of life breathing toward the stars. Before the sun can rise and expose them, they turn and slowly sink back into the heavy, protective shadows of the deep. This invisible, daily rhythm happens in every ocean on the planet, a massive, coordinated pulse moving through the water column. It is the heartbeat of the sea, a slow and ancient tidal breath that continues whether we are awake to witness it or not. Some of the most complex creatures in the deep sea are not single animals, but entire floating cities disguised as one. The siphonophore drifts through the mid-water like a delicate, spun-glass chandelier. It appears to be a solitary jellyfish, shimmering with long, trailing tentacles and pulsing, translucent bells. Yet it is actually a colony of thousands of specialized, individual clones working together in perfect harmony. Some individuals handle the swimming, pulsing gently to keep the colony suspended, while others dedicate themselves entirely to feeding or reproducing. They weave themselves into a single, breathtaking organism that hangs motionless in the dark water. Suspended in the quiet currents, they are a beautiful reminder that unity and stillness can create most profound grace. The deeper you go, the more the ocean transforms from a chaotic space of movement into a vast, acoustic cushion. Sound travels much faster in water than in air, but the immense volume of the deep ocean has a unique way of absorbing the noise of the surface world. The crashing of waves, the hum of ship engines, and the chaos of the coastal shallows are entirely swallowed by the upper water column. As you drift down, the auditory clutter is pressed out of existence, replaced by a deep, low-frequency hum that vibrates more than it sounds. The pressure and density wrap around you, dampening sharp noises into soft, rolling echoes. It is a quiet that you can feel in your bones, a profound silencing of the world that invites the mind to finally rest. Shadows do not disappear in the mesopelagic zone. They simply lose their edges and bleed into everything else. As you drift deeper into this twilight realm, the remaining sunlight scatters until direction itself becomes meaningless. There is no clear source of illumination left to cast a sharp silhouette. Up and down blur into a single, uniform wash of dim, blue-gray dusk. The water here feels thicker with shadows, wrapping around you like a soft, heavy blanket that obscures the boundaries of the physical world. It is a beautifully disorienting descent into a place where the sharp edges of reality finally begin to dissolve. The most effective way to hide from predators in the twilight zone is to become a source of light yourself. Looking up toward the fading surface, any solid object casts a faint, dark shape that hungry eyes can easily spot. The tiny lanternfish solves this by lining its belly with specialized glowing organs called photophores. It matches the exact wavelength and intensity of the dim sunlight filtering down from above. By shining just enough pale blue light downward, the fish perfectly erases its own shadow. In a realm defined by creeping darkness, survival belongs to those who know how to paint with light. The longest bony fish in the ocean spends much of its life standing perfectly still on its tail. Reaching lengths of over 30 feet, the giant oarfish looks like a shimmering, silver ribbon crowned with delicate crimson crests. Instead of swimming horizontally like most creatures, it often suspends itself vertically in the quiet water column. It hovers motionless in the dark, letting its long body ripple softly in the deep, slow currents. It waits for tiny prey to drift past its upturned mouth, expending almost no energy at all. There is a profound elegance in this metallic giant, resting silently like a silver pendulum marking the slow passage of deep-sea time. True darkness is not just the absence of light, it is a color worn by the apex predators of the deep. The dragonfish is a creature built for the shadows, cloaked in a specialized skin that absorbs nearly every photon that touches it. While other animals rely on transparency or counter-illumination, this hunter wears a velvet black pigment that traps light within its cellular structure. Even when bathed in the bioluminescent flashes of its struggling prey, the dragonfish reflects nothing back to the surrounding water. It is a swimming void, moving unseen through an already lightless world. To encounter it is to look directly into a shadow that has suddenly learned how to breathe. There is a massive, suffocating layer of the ocean where the very act of breathing seems to have been paused. Known as the oxygen minimum zone, this deep mid-water band holds almost no dissolved oxygen, making it a hostile desert for most marine life. Yet, a select few creatures have evolved to not just survive here, but to use it as a quiet refuge. Their metabolism slow to an almost undetectable crawl, allowing them to hang suspended in the suffocating water without effort. They enter a state of deep biological meditation, waiting out the threats of the more active zones above and below. It is a striking testament to life finding peace in the most profoundly still, breathless margins of the world. The vampire squid responds to terror not by fighting or fleeing, but by turning itself inside out and disappearing. Despite its fearsome name, this small, gentle scavenger possesses no ink sac and no crushing beak to defend itself. When startled in the dark, it raises its webbed arms backward over its own body, revealing a soft cloak lined with fleshy, harmless spines. It wraps itself entirely in this dark, velvet-like membrane, transforming from a swimming animal into an unappetizing, spiky orb. It simply floats in the current, waiting for the danger to pass in a state of perfectly enclosed safety. Sometimes the most powerful defense is simply pulling a soft cloak over your head and waiting for the storm to fade. The most beautiful illusion in the mid-water is an animal that has managed to make itself completely out of glass. The cranchid squid navigates the twilight zone by abandoning solid pigment entirely, opting instead for bodies of pure, watery transparency. Every internal organ is pushed into a tiny, reflective needle shape, leaving the rest of the creature as clear as the ocean itself. You could look right through its pulsing mantle and see the deep water continuing uninterrupted on the other side. It drifts like a living lens, bending the dim light around its invisible form. It moves through the world completely unseen, a delicate ghost woven from the very water that holds it. The largest geological feature on the mid-century nautical charts turned out to be a hallucination made of living breath. When early submarines first mapped the ocean with sonar, they consistently bounced acoustic signals off a solid, shifting mass they believed was the seafloor. They called it the deep scattering layer, a false bottom that seemed to rise at night and sink during the day. It was not rock or mud, but the densely packed bodies of billions of tiny fish, squid and crustaceans carrying small, gas-filled swim bladders. This mass of life is so thick and impenetrable that it echoes sound waves right back to the surface. The floor of the world is not always made of stone. Sometimes it is made entirely of beating hearts. The comb jelly travels through the darkness by rowing with millions of microscopic, iridescent orbs. Possessing no brain and no heart, this ancient creature is little more than a fragile balloon of seawater held together by a thin membrane. Along its translucent sides run 8 vertical rows of tiny hair-like structures called cilia. As these cilia beat in rhythmic, synchronized waves, they propel the jelly silently through the black water while refracting the faint light into pulsing rainbows. It leaves a trailing glow of soft bioluminescence in its wake, an organic spaceship drifting through a liquid cosmos. It asks nothing of the heavy world around it, content to simply glow and row slowly through the endless night. The true boundary of the midnight zone is not marked by the loss of light, but by a sudden, crushing awareness of physical weight. At a depth of 1,000 meters, the ocean presses inward with a force of over 1,500 pounds per square inch. This is not a weight that crushes, but a profound, permeating pressure that fundamentally alters how biology must operate. Gas-filled spaces become impossible to maintain, forcing life to build bodies from dense, watery tissues that cannot be compressed. The animals here do not fight the heavy water. They allow it to flow through them, matching the internal pressure to the external abyss. It is a beautiful surrender to the elements, proving that the only way to survive immense pressure is to let it pass right through you. Beyond the reach of even the faintest scattered rays, the ocean descends into a pure, absolute night that has never known a sunrise. This is the bathypelagic realm, a vast and seemingly endless stretch of the water column where the only light is born from life itself. Here, darkness is not merely the absence of the sun, but a physical substance you can almost touch. It wraps around you, cool and profound, erasing the horizon and leaving you suspended in an infinite, ink-black void. In this perfect absence of light, Your eyes stop straining for familiar shapes, and your mind is finally allowed to rest in the dark. Hanging motionless in this total void, a single glowing star appears where no star should be. This solitary beacon belongs to the anglerfish, a creature that has turned the harshness of the abyss into an art of quiet attraction. A modified dorsal spine arches delicately over its head, tipped with a fleshy appendage that houses millions of light-producing bacteria. It does not chase or hunt with frantic energy, but simply waits in the black water, offering a gentle, pulsing warmth to the wandering and the weary. It is a patient, silent strategy built entirely on the understanding that in a lightless world, everything is eventually drawn toward the glow. Sometimes the most radical adaptation to darkness is to make the roof of your own mind completely transparent. The barrel-eye fish navigates the deep water with a head encased entirely in a fluid-filled glass-like dome. Inside this clear canopy sit two bright green, tubular eyes pointing straight upward, constantly scanning the black water above for the faint silhouettes of tiny prey. Its gaze remains fixed on the heavens while its body hovers perfectly still, a silent observer looking through its own protective shielding. It floats like a quiet astronomer in a liquid cosmos, forever watching the shadows drift across an unseen sky. The shape of a deep-sea creature is not a permanent architecture, but a temporary agreement negotiated with the crushing pressure of the water around it. The blobfish lacks the heavy bones and thick muscles common in the shallows, relying instead on a body composed almost entirely of gelatinous mass that is slightly less dense than seawater. Far below the surface, this soft composition is held perfectly in place by the immense weight of the deep, allowing the fish to float gracefully just above the seafloor without spending any energy swimming. True beauty in the abyss is often invisible, existing only when held together by the heavy, quiet embrace of the depths. Moving through the soft mud of the seafloor requires a delicate touch rather than brute strength. The giant spider crab steps through the darkness on incredibly long, sprawling legs that can span more than 12 feet across. Despite its massive size, it treads with an impossibly light footprint, distributing its weight to avoid sinking into the ancient, powdery sediment. Every inch of its spindly limbs is covered in tiny, sensory hairs, allowing it to taste and feel the quiet world around it with every slow, deliberate step. It wanders the cold desert like a blind architect, tracing the contours of the earth with a gentle, sweeping grace. In a world entirely devoid of sunlight, painting yourself a vibrant crimson is the ultimate act of vanishing, because red light is the very first color to be absorbed near the ocean's surface. Not a single photon of it ever reaches the deep bathypelagic zone. As a result, the deep-water shrimp and jellies that wear brilliant shades of scarlet are rendering themselves completely invisible. If there is no red light to bounce off their bodies, they simply register to passing predators as pitch black. They wear the brightest color imaginable just to become shadows, hiding quietly in plain sight through a beautiful trick of physics. The deep ocean is felt long before it is seen, read through a subtle language of invisible ripples. Almost all fish in the deep possess a highly specialized sensory system known as the lateral line, a row of delicate pores running along their sides that detect the faintest changes in water pressure. A beating fin 100 yards away, or the slow displacement of water from a sinking stone, registers on their bodies like a quiet whisper. They do not need eyes to map the darkness, because the water itself brings the news of the world directly to their skin. They navigate the void by listening to the liquid breath of the ocean, attuned to every silent ripple in the dark. The passage of time means very little to a creature moving slowly enough to outlive centuries. The Greenland shark cruises the freezing, dark waters of the deep Atlantic with a sluggish, hypnotic rhythm, its tail sweeping back and forth in extreme slow motion. Conserving every ounce of energy in the bitter cold, this apex predator lives life at an agonizingly calm pace, growing less than half an inch a year. It wanders the deep currents in a state of suspended aging, a ghost of the ice unbothered by the frantic rushing of the modern world. It carries the quiet wisdom of ancient ice, swimming patiently through generations of human history without ever speeding up. Sometimes the most efficient way to survive in complete darkness is to discard the concept of vision altogether. The flabby whalefish navigates its lightless environment completely without eyes, having lost them over millions of years of deep-sea evolution. Instead, its head is covered in a sprawling network of highly enlarged sensory pores, reading the chemical and physical landscape of the heavy water. It trades the unnecessary burden of sight for a hyper-awareness of touch, feeling its way through the cold void with absolute, unhurried confidence. It is a gentle reminder that when you stop straining to see what is hidden, you can finally feel what is already there. The most abundant vertebrate on the planet is a tiny, glowing sliver of life that almost no human will ever see. The bristlemouth is a fragile, finger-length fish equipped with needle-like teeth and rows of pale blue bioluminescent spots along its belly. Though they are entirely hidden in the deep mid-water, their numbers are so staggeringly vast that they outnumber all the chickens, rats, and humans on Earth combined. Hundreds of trillions of them drift quietly in the twilight and midnight zones, forming the invisible, living foundation of the deep ocean ecosystem. You are sharing a planet with a quiet, glowing majority, resting peacefully in a dark world we are only beginning to understand. The largest habitat on the surface of our planet is one that possesses no hills, no valleys, and entirely no sunlight. Dropping past the continental slopes, the seafloor flattens out into the abyssal plain, a sprawling, unbroken desert of mud that covers more than half of the Earth. It stretches for thousands of miles in every direction, an endless expanse of dark sediment resting beneath miles of freezing water. There is a profound, almost unimaginable emptiness here, unbroken by physical landmarks or shifting seasons. It is a quiet, flat world that remains untouched by the chaotic weather of the surface. To drift over this endless plain is to feel the true, stabilizing immensity of the world beneath our feet. The soft ground beneath the deep water is not made of dirt, but of a quiet, microscopic graveyard accumulating over millions of years. As the tiny bodies of plankton and diatoms perish near the sunlit surface, their silica-rich shells rain down slowly onto the abyssal plain. This relentless, gentle snowfall builds a thick layer of pale sediment known as silicious ooze, carpeting the bedrock in a soft, yielding clay. It takes an entire millennium for this organic dust to accumulate just a single inch of thickness. The floor of the sea is directly paved with the ancient memories of the sunlit waters above. You are hovering over a landscape woven entirely from the slow, beautiful passing of deep geological time. Towering mountains exist hidden in the dark, possessing summits that will never pierce the waves or feel the warmth of the sun. Rising suddenly from the flat monotony of the abyssal plain, these extinct underwater volcanoes are known as seamounts. They create massive, submerged architectures that interrupt the deep ocean currents, forcing nutrient-rich water to surge upward along their rocky slopes. This sudden change in flow transforms these solitary peaks into bustling, invisible oases in the middle of a barren desert. Life gathers around these hidden summits, clinging to the jagged rock in quiet, vibrant communities. They stand like silent monoliths in the void, offering a rare, solid harbor in an endless liquid sky. The most expansive coral reefs on Earth do not require a single drop of sunlight to build their sprawling, ancient cities. Far below the warm, tropical shallows, deep-sea corals thrive in waters resting just above the freezing point. Lacking the symbiotic algae that surface corals use to harness the sun, these pale architects feed entirely by extending tiny tentacles to catch passing marine snow and drifting plankton. They construct massive, branching limestone skeletons that stretch across the dark, rocky slopes of seamounts and ridges. These cold, stony labyrinths offer vital shelter to thousands of other creatures hiding in the pitch-black currents. They are a quiet testament to life building breathtaking cathedrals in the most unforgiving, lightless margins of the world. Deep within the freezing shadows of the abyss, forests of delicate coral possess the remarkable ability to glow when touched. Anchored to the barren rock, the bamboo coral grows in long, spiraling branches that resemble the slender stalks of a terrestrial bamboo grove. When brushed by a passing current or a wandering predator, these fragile colonies pulse with a sudden, beautiful blue bioluminescence. The light ripples up and down the length of their rigid skeletons, an elegant warning flashing in the perfect dark. They grow at an agonizingly slow pace, taking hundreds of years to reach the height of a human being. It is deeply comforting to know that even in the absolute dark, ancient life still knows how to spark into light. Water that has not touched the sky in 1,000 years is gently cleaned by gardens of pale, crystalline glass. Deep-sea sponges gather on the rocky outcrops of the abyss to form dense, silent filtering communities. They pull the freezing, heavy seawater through their porous bodies, extracting oxygen and microscopic nutrients with a quiet, rhythmic efficiency. Many of these animals build intricate skeletons out of extracted silica, forming delicate, lattice-like structures that resemble vases woven from spun glass. They do not hunt or chase, choosing instead to let the deep, slow currents bring the world directly to them. They sit perfectly still in the crushing dark, patiently purifying an ocean that has forgotten the sun. The most patient hunter on the abyssal plain does not swim, but rather stands on the seafloor like a living camera tripod. The deep-sea tripod fish possesses highly elongated pelvic and tail fins that function as rigid, bony stilts. It rests upon these delicate horns, elevating its soft body just inches above the muddy sediment to face directly into the slow bottom currents. By lifting itself off the ground, it positions its mouth exactly where the drifting crustaceans are swept along in the heavy water. It stands motionless in the dark for days at a time, entirely unbothered by the frantic need to move. It is a profound master of stillness, waiting for the ocean to deliver exactly what it needs. The most common wanderer of the deep ocean mud looks surprisingly like a translucent, water-filled balloon marching on tiny legs. The sea pig is a specialized type of sea cucumber that slowly traverses the abyssal plain in massive, silent herds. It uses specialized, hydraulically inflated tube feet to march across the soft ooze without sinking, sniffing out patches of freshly fallen marine snow. As it creeps along the bottom, it constantly scoops up the sediment, extracting the organic matter and leave. In a trail of clean mud in its wake, it functions as a slow, organic vacuum, methodically cleaning the floor of the world. There is a charming, peaceful rhythm to their endless march across the quietest desert on Earth. The coldest water in the deep ocean does not simply rest in place, but creeps along the seafloor like a heavy, invisible river. Born on the freezing margins of the Antarctic ice shelves, this dense, salt-heavy water plunges downward until it hits the abyssal plain. Known as Antarctic bottom water, it forms a massive, slowly sinking current that spreads northward across the entire globe. It hugs the deepest contours of the ocean basin, carrying highly oxygenated water into regions that would otherwise become stagnant and lifeless. This creeping frost takes centuries to complete its journey across the Earth, dragging the breath of the poles into the deepest dark. You can feel the ancient, icy pulse of the planet slowly rolling beneath you in the dark. Beneath the heavy currents and the bizarre life forms lies a physical landscape locked in a state of nearly eternal rest. The deep ocean basin exists far removed from the violent, erosive forces of wind, rain, and shifting ice that constantly reshape the surface world. Here, The geological features remain perfectly intact for millions of years, blanketed gently by the slow, continuous snowfall of the abyss. A single footprint left in this soft mud would remain perfectly undisturbed long after the continents above had shifted. It is an environment of absolute physical stillness, entirely insulated from the chaotic, rapidly changing seasons of the sky. Allowing your mind to settle into this profound, undisturbed quiet brings a deep, lasting sense of peace. The freezing, quiet expanse of the abyssal plain is occasionally broken by an impossible burst of localized, violent heat. Along the jagged tiers in the crust of the earth, seawater seeps downward into the magma chambers below, superheating instantly under the immense pressure. This water does not boil, but shoots back up through the seafloor, carrying the intense thermal energy of the planet directly into the freezing darkness. It creates sudden, shimmering oases of warmth in a desert of ice. The sudden clash of temperatures creates a beautiful, violent distortion in the heavy water. You are hovering over the very heartbeat of the planet, feeling the raw, ancient fire beneath the cold stone. The thick, billowing clouds erupting from the ocean floor are not made of smoke, but of solid rock dissolved into fluid. As the superheated water violently escapes the crust, it carries a heavy payload of iron, sulfur, and copper stripped directly from the deep earth. When this boiling, mineral-rich soup strikes the freezing abyssal water, the dissolved metals instantly solidify, raining back down to form towering, chimney-like structures over thousands of years. These jagged spires, known as black smokers, pump a continuous, dark plume of chemical energy into the void. They stand like ancient, smoking factories in the lightless depths. They are a startling reminder that the earth is not a quiet stone, but a restless, brewing engine of creation. Life on Earth does not actually require a single drop of sunlight to build a thriving, massive ecosystem. Before the discovery of the deep vents, science firmly believed that every living thing was ultimately powered by the sun through the green magic of photosynthesis. But in the pitch black of the abyss, specialized bacteria have learned to consume the toxic hydrogen sulfide pouring from the crust, turning harsh chemicals directly into organic energy. This invisible process of chemosynthesis replaces the sun completely, anchoring a massive food web in absolute darkness. It shattered our understanding of biology in a single, quiet revelation. It proves that life is fiercely stubborn, capable of finding a way to bloom in the darkest, most hostile margins of the universe. Not all hydrothermal vents are violent, smoking chimneys of black rock. Far off the axis of the mid-ocean ridges, a completely different kind of vent field rises silently from the seafloor. Known as the Lost City, this surreal landscape features towering, ghostly white spires made entirely of calcium carbonate, some reaching the height of a 20-story building. Instead of boiling, acidic fluid, these pale monuments release warm, highly alkaline water that shimmers gently in the cold currents. They build their intricate, pale castles over tens of thousands of years, far removed from the frantic energy of the black smokers. Gliding through these pale, silent towers feels like wandering through the ruins of a forgotten, sunken civilization that simply went to sleep. A creature with no mouth and no stomach grows into a towering crimson garden at the edge of a boiling toxic vent. Giant tube worms anchor themselves directly to the jagged rocks of the vent fields, encasing their bodies in thick, white peat. Rotative cylinders. They extend brilliant red plumes into the surrounding water, absorbing the lethal hydrogen sulfide and delivering it to a massive organ inside their bodies packed with symbiotic bacteria. The bacteria process the poison into pure nourishment, feeding the worm entirely from the inside out. They grow incredibly fast, forming dense, beautiful forests of red and white in a world of black stone. They are living paradoxes, translating lethal poison into vibrant, blossoming life in the very place where survival seems impossible. The most dedicated farmer in the world is a blind crustacean that tends its crops in boiling water. The Yeti crab takes its name from the dense, pale, hair-like bristles covering its long, sprawling arms. It does not hunt for food, but instead waves its hairy claws rhythmically in the toxic plumes pouring from the hydrothermal vents. These bristles are specifically designed to cultivate a thick garden of chemosynthetic bacteria, which the crab slowly and methodically harvests to feed itself. It lives its entire life hovering perfectly balanced between the freezing ocean and the scalding thermal fluid. There is a profound, quiet dignity in this blind gardener, peacefully tending its toxic harvest at the bottom of the world. There is a creature in the deep sea that has learned how to wear a suit of actual metallic armor. The scalyfoot snail crawls slowly around the scorching borders of vent fields, navigating an environment completely soaked in heavy metals. Instead of being poisoned, the snail absorbs the toxic iron sulfide and secretes it directly into its own tissues, growing a dense metallic shell and coating its soft foot in thick, overlapping iron scales. It is the only known animal on the planet that incorporates metal directly into its skeleton to survive. It moves across the blistering rock like a tiny, unstoppable knight. It is a beautiful testament to the idea that whatever tries to break you can eventually become the very thing that makes you impenetrable. The most heat-tolerant, complex animal on Earth lives its life with its head in an ice bath and its tail in a fire. The Pompeii worm builds a thin, papery tube directly onto the walls of the black smokers. It anchors its tail firmly near the boiling water emerging from the rock, enduring temperatures that would instantly cook any other creature, while extending its delicate head outward into the freezing, deep-sea currents. The difference in heat across its tiny body can be nearly 150 degrees. It survives this impossible environment by wearing a thick, insulating fleece of specialized bacteria along its back. It finds its perfect comfort in the absolute extreme, balancing perfectly between two forces that should tear it apart. The most vibrant ecosystems in the deep ocean are built entirely on borrowed time. Unlike the sprawling, ancient coral reefs that persist for millennia, a hydrothermal vent field is a remarkably fleeting phenomenon. The subterranean plumbing that supplies the superheated fluid is highly unstable, prone to sudden shifts and collapses from deep tectonic tremors. Without warning, a roaring black smoker can simply shut down, plunging the thriving oasis back into freezing, starved darkness. The massive tube worms and delicate crabs will slowly fade away, leaving only a ghostly monument of cooling chimneys behind. It teaches a quiet lesson in impermanence, showing that even the most beautiful and vibrant moments in life are meant to eventually drift away. When pure heat collides with absolute cold, the water itself bends into a visible, shimmering mirage. As the boiling, mineral-rich fluid of a hydrothermal vent strikes the freezing water of the abyss, the sudden gradient alters the very density of the ocean. This creates a mesmerizing optical distortion known as a Schlieren effect, where the water appears to waver, fold, and dance just like the heat rising off a summer highway. You can see the distinct boundary where the scalding earth meets the freezing sea, a rippling, liquid curtain hanging in the dark. It is a stunning visual display of opposing forces meeting in perfect, fluid harmony. Watching this liquid dance allows your mind to blur the sharp lines of the world, letting your thoughts shimmer and fold into a state of total, heavy rest. A creature once thought to be a fossilized memory swims peacefully in the shadowed, rocky caves of the twilight margins. The coelacanth was believed to have vanished with the dinosaurs, known only from ancient stone impressions. Yet, it was found perfectly alive, navigating the steep volcanic slopes of the deep ocean. It moves with a strange, lobed fin motion that looks more like a slow, underwater walk than a typical swim. It hides in quiet submarine caves during the bright day, emerging only when the deep night matches the darkness of its home. It is a living, breathing ghost, a reminder that the deep ocean holds onto the past with a gentle, protective embrace. The shape of a serpent does not belong only to mythology, but glides silently through the freezing water of the mid-ocean depths. The frilled shark possesses a long, eel-like body and rows of needle-sharp teeth that have remained virtually unchanged for over 80 million years, while surface predators evolved into streamlined torpedoes. This ancient hunter kept its slow, undulating grace. It bends and coils through the heavy water, catching soft-bodied prey with sudden, striking lunges in the dark. It wears a collar of delicate, fringed gills that ripple softly in the current. Watching it swim feels like peering directly into a prehistoric sea, proving that perfection sometimes arrives early and simply decides to stay. A perfect spiral of shell drops slowly into the abyss, holding pockets of ancient gas to balance perfectly in the heavy water. The chambered nautilus is a relative of the squid and octopus, but it still wears a beautiful, protective armor on the outside of its soft body. As it grows, it builds new, larger chambers in its shell, sealing off the old ones and filling them with precise amounts of nitrogen gas. This internal buoyancy system acts like a quiet, biological submarine, allowing the creature to rise and sink without wasting a single ounce of muscular energy. It bobs gently in the deep currents, a master of weightlessness. It carries its own history upon its back, floating gracefully in the empty margins of the world. The face of a deep-sea hunter can completely detach itself from the skull to bridge the gap of the cold, dark water. The goblin shark appears sluggish and soft, possessing a long, flattened snout packed with sensitive pores that detect the electrical hum of hidden prey. When it finally senses a meal resting in the mud, it does not sprint forward. Instead, its entire jaw mechanism shoots outward from its face with startling, independent speed. The teeth snap shut in a fraction of a second before the jaw retracts back into a smooth, resting position. It is a mesmerizing feat of mechanical biology, a quiet ambush that ends before the surrounding water even has time to ripple. True flight happens far below the clouds, performed by a cartilaginous phantom slipping through the midnight zone. The chimera, often called the ghost shark, separated from the lineage of true sharks millions of years ago, forging its own strange evolutionary path. Instead of sweeping a powerful tail back and forth, it relies on massive, wing-like pectoral fins to propel itself. It flaps these fleshy wings with a slow, hypnotic rhythm, soaring through the heavy water like a silent, underwater bird. Its pale, stitch-like sensory lines run across its face, giving it the appearance of a creature sewn together from forgotten pieces of the deep. It glides over the barren mud with effortless grace, an ethereal traveler unbothered by the crushing pressure above. The familiar shape of a garden pillbug takes on startling, armored proportions when nourished by the immense isolation of the ocean floor. The giant isopod patrols the deep, freezing sediment on 14 scuttling legs, a pale and solitary scavenger, growing to the size of a small cat. It lives in a state of nearly perpetual fasting, wandering a barren desert where meals might only fall from the surface once every few years. To survive this scarcity, its metabolism operates at an incredibly slow crawl, allowing it to rest motionless for months at a time without needing nourishment. When a rare bounty finally arrives, it gorges itself quietly in the dark. It is a creature defined entirely by patience, waiting endlessly for the world to drop small mercies from the sky. A creature wearing an impenetrable domed helmet walks the deep sandy slopes exactly as it did long before the first dinosaur took a breath. The horseshoe crab is not truly a crab at all, but a distant relative of spiders and scorpions that decided to march into the sea. It navigates the deeper oceanic margins beneath a solid, rounded carapace, dragging a long, rigid tail behind it like a rudder. It moves slowly, plowing through the soft sediment to find buried worms, entirely encased in a shell that evolution perfected 400 million years ago. 10 simple eyes are scattered across its armor, sensing the faint shifting of shadows in the twilight. It is a steadfast survivor of mass extinctions, marching steadily through the deep, while the rest of the planet constantly reinvents itself. The most effective defense in a dark, confined space is to instantly turn the surrounding water into a suffocating, solid mass. The hagfish is an ancient, jawless scavenger that rests quietly inside the decaying bones of fallen creatures on the abyssal plain. When a predator makes the mistake of biting this soft, blind animal, the hagfish releases a tiny amount of specialized proteins from glands along its sides. Within a fraction of a second, these proteins interact the seawater to expand into gallons of thick, impenetrable slime. The attacker is forced to release the hagfish immediately, choking on the clear, fibrous jelly filling its gills. The hagfish then simply ties its own flexible body into a knot, wiping itself clean before slipping peacefully back into the dark. Time moves at a fundamentally different speed when there are no seasons, no weather, and almost no changing variables to force an adaptation. Evolution is normally driven by chaotic shifts in the environment, demanding that species either change their shapes or slowly fade into extinction. But the deep ocean basin has remained a freezing, dark, and highly pressurized world for hundreds of millions of years. Without the shifting climate or the arrival of new competitors from the sunlit world, the creatures isolated here feel absolutely no pressure to evolve. Their bodies reached perfect harmony with the abyss epochs ago, and biology simply laid down its tools and rested. It is deeply comforting to know there are places on Earth where the frantic need to constantly change has been entirely suspended. The bottom of the ocean acts as a massive, dark museum that preserves the earliest drafts of biological life, while the continents above continually break apart, drift, and collide, creating entirely new forests and deserts. The deep sea remains profoundly unaffected by the chaos. The same heavy, cold currents have been sweeping over the same muddy plains since the age of the ancient supercontinents. Because the physical world here is so incredibly stable, the animals that found their way down into the dark were allowed to freeze in time. You are not just descending through miles of water, you are sinking backward through the calendar of the earth. Floating in this ancient stillness, you can finally feel the reassuring weight of deep time holding you safely in its palm. The unbroken monotony of the ancient seafloor is occasionally shattered by a massive, silent gift falling from the sky above. When a great whale reaches the end of its long life near the sunlit surface, its immense body eventually slips downward, sinking for miles through the dark water. This descent can take days, a slow and heavy settling of tons of organic matter onto the barren abyssal mud. Known as a whale fall, this sudden arrival delivers more nutrients to a single patch of the deep ocean than it would naturally receive in several thousand years. It is a beautiful, heavy sacrifice, proving that even in death, the giants of the world continue to provide for those resting in the dark. Long before the dust has settled around the fallen giant, the shadows at the edge of the lightless plain begin to slowly shift. drawn by the invisible chemical scent drifting through the heavy bottom currents. Huge, lethargic predators arrive in the dark. Pacific sleeper sharks, creatures that usually drift aimlessly in the freezing depths, gather around the massive bounty. They do not fight or tear with frantic energy, but take slow, methodical bites, their sluggish metabolisms fueled by this rare feast. They move with an eerie, unhurried grace, unbothered by the passing of time. There is no urgency here, only the quiet, patient rhythm of life slowly reclaiming what the surface has left behind. The most remarkable scavengers of the deep ocean do not arrive with teeth, but bloom upon the bare white bones like a carpet of delicate flowers. Once the larger hunters have moved on, microscopic larvae drifting in the slow currents finally settle onto the exposed skeleton. These are the oceanic worms, tiny creatures possessing no mouths and no stomachs. They grow pale, root-like tendrils that slowly dissolve the solid calcium, absorbing the rich fats hidden deep within the marrow. Above the bone, they sprout soft, feathery plumes of red and pink to extract oxygen from the freezing water. They transform a barren ribcage into a flourishing, underwater garden, breathing vibrant life directly into the architecture of the dead. A single life from the sunlit world possesses enough stored energy to hold back the endless dark for more than half a century. The ecosystem created by a whale fall is not a fleeting feast, but a sustained, multi-generational metropolis. For decades, the towering bones serve as a hard reef in a desert of soft mud, sheltering thousands of specialized crabs, snails, and pale anemones. Entire species exist nowhere else on the planet, evolving specifically to hop from one fallen giant to the next across the vast, empty plains. This solitary fallen monument becomes a bustling, localized city in the void. It offers a profound sense of continuity, showing how a single ending can become the foundation for countless beautiful beginnings. The deep ocean contains a hidden, acoustic highway where a single voice can travel undisturbed across an entire hemisphere. At a very specific depth, a unique combination of temperature and water pressure creates a layer known as the deep sound channel. When low-frequency whale songs enter this distinct band of water, the sound waves are trapped, prevented from scattering to the surface or burying themselves in the mud. Instead, they bounce cleanly along this horizontal corridor, carrying the mournful, rumbling calls of baleen whales for thousands of miles through the pitch-black water. It is a secret, liquid telephone line connecting the vast, lonely stretches of the globe. You are never truly alone in the dark when the water itself is designed to carry a song. Sound itself grows heavy and tired as it sinks into the freezing, dense embrace of the lower water column. In the warm, bright shallows near the surface, acoustic waves travel with sharp, rapid intensity. But as those same vibrations descend into the bitter cold of the deep ocean, the extreme density of the freezing water physically slows their progression. The high, chaotic frequencies are slowly filtered out and absorbed, leaving only the deepest, most resonant tones to continue the journey. The noise of the world is pressed into a slow, rhythmic hum that vibrates directly against the skin. The ocean acts as a gentle, planetary dampener, softening the sharp edges of sound until all that remains is a heavy, comforting vibration. The loudest sound produced by any living animal is not a roar, but a perfectly timed, rhythmic click echoing miles below the surface. As the massive sperm whale plunges into the pitch-black bathypelagic zone, it navigates the void by unleashing powerful pulses of sound from its massive, oil-filled head. These dense, percussive clicks strike the surrounding water like physical blows, rolling through the dark ocean with immense, directed force. They travel outward until they strike the soft bodies of hidden giant squid, bouncing instantly back to the listening hunter. This is not the chaotic noise of the surface, but a highly disciplined, mathematical rhythm measuring the dark. It sounds like the slow, steady ticking of a giant, biological clock winding its way through the infinite black. For those who listen closely enough, the total absence of light does not mean the absence of a vivid, three-dimensional world. Echolocation is not simply a biological radar, but a profoundly detailed way of seeing with sound. When the returning echoes wash over the specialized fatty tissues in a whale jaw, they deliver incredibly complex information to the brain. The animal can sense not just the distance of an object, but its precise density, its shape, and even the texture of its skin. They paint the pitch-black water with vibrant, acoustic colors, rendering the invisible landscape in sharp, tactile relief. It is a beautiful reminder that when one way of seeing is taken away, the mind will always find another way to illuminate the dark. The most complex conversations in the abyss happen in complete silence, written in invisible ink that hangs motionless in the water. Because the deep ocean currents are so incredibly slow, the chemical signatures left behind by passing animals do not quickly wash away. A predator swimming through the midnight zone leaves a lingering, three-dimensional wake of amino acids and oils that remains suspended like a ghost in the water column. Other creatures can taste this silent trail hours or even days later, reading the exact size, direction, and mood of the animal that passed before them. They navigate a rich, invisible tapestry of scent woven directly into the heavy water. The past is never truly erased in the deep, but lingers softly, waiting to be read by anyone patient enough to taste the current. At the extreme depths of the ocean basin, sound is no longer just something you hear, but a physical weight you must carry. Because water is highly incompressible compared to air, the acoustic waves generated by deep-sea geological shifts or massive diving mammals carry profound kinetic energy. When a low-frequency vibration rolls through the abyssal plane, it physically displaces the heavy, pressurized water, pushing it directly against the bodies of the creatures resting there. You do not just listen to the deep ocean, you feel its acoustic pulse pressing into your chest and rolling through your bones. The water itself becomes a massive, vibrating blanket, Allowing yourself to sink into this heavy, rhythmic resonance feels like being gently rocked by the oldest heartbeat in the world. The largest eyes ever to look upon the earth do not belong to a surface giant, but to a creature hovering in the freezing Antarctic depths. The colossal squid navigates the pitch-black water using eyes the size of dinner plates, designed specifically to catch the faintest bioluminescent glow of shifting shadows. When it finally locates prey, it does not simply grab it with flat suckers. Its thick, heavy tentacles are lined with sharp, swiveling hooks that rotate freely, locking onto anything they touch with inescapable precision. It is a slow, heavy hunter armed with the weaponry of a nightmare. Yet it moves with an incredibly deliberate, quiet grace, proving that sheer power can exist in perfect, unhurried silence. A ghost with elbows drifts miles beneath the surface, suspended perfectly motionless in the heavy water. The Magnapinna, or bigfin squid, holds its body high above the seafloor while its immensely long tentacles bend at sharp, 90-degree angles, dropping straight down into the abyss like plumb lines. These trailing filaments can stretch over 20 feet long, drifting softly in the creeping currents. It does not actively hunt, but simply hangs in the void, waiting for a careless wanderer to bump into its delicate, living web. It looks less like a biological animal and more like a strange, elegant kite flying in a lightless wind. Encountering one is like stumbling upon a quiet specter that has simply forgotten how to fall. The shape of a hunter is entirely an illusion when its mouth can suddenly become larger than its own body. The pelican eel drifts through the twilight zone looking like a fragile, ribbon-like wisp of black tissue. But when prey approaches, its massive, loosely hinged jaw unlocks and balloons outward like an opening parachute. It does not bite, but rather scoops up an immense volume of heavy seawater, trapping the unsuspecting meal in a sudden, cavernous net of flesh. The water is then slowly pushed back out through its gills, leaving the trapped meal behind. It is a beautiful magic trick of anatomy, transforming a slender thread of life into an inescapable, enveloping void. Hunger in the deep ocean is not restricted by the physical size of the predator's own stomach. The gulper eel navigates the scarce, barren waters of the mid-ocean by refusing to pass up any meal, regardless of its dimensions. When it encounters a fish significantly larger than itself, it simply opens its oversized jaws and engulfs the massive creature whole. Its highly elastic stomach stretches paper-thin to accommodate the burden, expanding so dramatically that the eel's internal organs are pushed entirely aside. The predator becomes little more than a stretched, living wrapper around its own impossible feast. In a world where nourishment is incredibly rare, true survival means stretching your very boundaries to hold whatever the dark delivers. Swallowing a prize 3 times your own weight is a dangerous game of time against the freezing deep. The black swallower is a modest, finger-length fish that routinely hunts creatures possessing many times its own mass. After a violent struggle in the pitch-black water, it forces the giant catch down its throat, coiling it tightly within a translucent, wildly distensible stomach that hangs heavily below its body. The real challenge is not the capture, but the agonizingly slow process of digestion in the bitter cold. If the meal decomposes before the stomach can break it down, the trapped gases will lift the tiny hunter violently toward the surface. It is a profound gamble, weighing the absolute necessity of a heavy feast against the fragile limits of the body. Emitting a light that no one else can see is the ultimate form of stealth in a world obsessed with glowing shadows. Almost all bioluminescence in the deep ocean flashes in shades of blue and green, because those wavelengths travel furthest through the heavy water. Consequently, the eyes of deep-sea creatures have evolved to see only those specific colors, rendering them completely blind to the color red. The stoplight lucijaw exploits this by producing a brilliant crimson beam from teardrop-shaped organs beneath its eyes. It acts as an invisible sniper scope, illuminating oblivious prey right in front of its face. It wanders the midnight zone holding a secret lantern, bathed in a private warmth that the rest of the world cannot even perceive. The most terrifying bite in the ocean leaves behind a geometrically perfect sphere of missing flesh. The cookie-cutter shark is a small, cigar-shaped wanderer that does not bother hunting fish small enough to swallow. Instead, it approaches massive whales, submarines, and great white sharks under the cover of darkness. It suctions its thick, fleshy lips tightly to the side of the giant, sinking in a circular row of interconnected, razor-sharp lower teeth. With a quick, twisting motion of its entire body, it cleanly scoops out a perfect plug of blubber and simply swims away into the night. It is a master of the quiet, hit-and-run harvest, taking only exactly what it needs from the giants before returning to the shadows. A weapon can become so incredibly large that the body must literally hollow out its own skull to accommodate it. The fangtooth fish possesses the largest teeth in the ocean relative to its body size, wielding jagged, dagger-like spikes that protrude menacingly from its jaws. These lower fangs are so exceptionally long that if the fish simply closed its mouth, it would instantly pierce its own brain. To prevent this, the creature has evolved specialized, deep pockets resting directly beside its brain cavity. When the jaw snaps shut, the massive teeth slide perfectly into these empty sheaths, resting just millimeters from the fragile mind. It is a beautiful, terrifying balance, carrying immense power carefully folded into the most delicate spaces of the self. Supreme physical strength in the abyss looks nothing like the taut, hard muscles required in the bright shallows. Fast-swimming predators near the surface rely on dense, highly oxygenated muscle tissue to chase down their meals. But at extreme depths, maintaining that kind of dense physical architecture demands far more energy than the freezing, starved environment can provide. The hunters of the dark possess loose, flabby, almost watery muscles that are barely distinguishable from jelly. This soft composition allows them to float neutrally in the crushing pressure, without burning precious calories just to stay suspended. endurance in this heavy realm is not about fighting the pressure, but becoming so soft that it simply passes right through you. The most successful hunters on the planet are the ones who have completely mastered the art of doing nothing at all. The abyssal plain and the midnight zone are vast, empty deserts where a passing meal might only arrive once every few months. Constantly swimming in search of food would exhaust a creature long before it ever found a single bite. The apex predators here simply hang motionless in the pitch-black void, entering a profound state of suspended animation. Their heartbeats slow to a rhythmic crawl, and their breathing becomes a soft, undetectable whisper in the freezing current. They exist in a state of absolute, perfect waiting. Surrendering to this quiet stillness is not a defeat, but a brilliant strategy to let the heavy world bring its miracles directly to you. The largest single cells on Earth do not look like microscopic specks, but rather like fragile, pale sponges resting quietly on the abyss. Known as xenophytophores, these bizarre creatures can grow to the size of a human fist without ever dividing their bodies. They navigate the deep mud by gathering tiny grains of sand, discarded shells, and skeletal dust. Using a natural cement, they glue these fragments together to build intricate, branching homes. This delicate architecture provides a sheltering labyrinth for their soft, sprawling form. It is a beautiful reminder that even the simplest forms of life possess an innate desire to build a sanctuary in the dark. A perfect geometric sphere of pure glass drifts slowly through the heavy currents, far too small to be seen by the naked eye. This is the delicate armor of a radiolarian, a microscopic predator that extracts dissolved silica from the freezing water. It uses this mineral to forge an intricate crystalline skeleton that looks exactly like a tiny frozen snowflake. Soft, thread-like tentacles extend outward through the gaps in the glass, catching passing nutrients in a silent, slow-motion harvest. They exist as living geometry, imposing absolute mathematical order on the chaotic, heavy ocean. Floating blindly in the immense dark, these tiny creatures weave the raw materials of the earth into masterpieces of undeniable perfection. The most accurate history books on our planet are written on pages no larger than a grain of sand. Foraminifera are microscopic, single-celled organisms that construct beautiful, spiraling shells out of calcium carbonate drawn directly from the surrounding water. As they grow in the deep ocean, the exact chemical composition of their shell permanently records the temperature, acidity, and carbon levels of the era they lived in. When they die, these tiny shells fall to the seafloor, stacking up layer by layer over millions of years into thick, white mud. Scientists can core into this sediment and read the ancient climate of the Earth by decoding these microscopic diaries. The vast, swirling history of the global ocean is kept safe in the smallest, quietest vaults imaginable. The brilliant lights flashing through the midnight zone are almost never created by the animals wearing them. When an anglerfish or a lanternfish sparks in the darkness, the glow is actually produced by millions of bioluminescent bacteria living in specialized pockets of their skin. This relationship is not just a biological coincidence, but also a profoundly intimate partnership forged in the absolute extreme. The animal can often control the intensity of the light by restricting the oxygen flow to the bacteria, acting as a living dimmer switch. In a world starved of warmth and vision, two completely different forms of life hold onto each other to create a single, guiding star. The most powerful predators in the deep ocean do not have teeth, fins, or even a living body. Marine viruses exist in the freezing abyss in staggering, uncountable numbers, drifting entirely unseen in the heavy currents. They do not hunt large fish, but instead target the sprawling populations of microscopic bacteria that cover the seafloor. By infiltrating these microbes and breaking them apart, the viruses release trapped nutrients back into the water column. This invisible cycle, known as the viral shunt, prevents the deep ocean from becoming a stagnant graveyard. They act as microscopic recyclers, ensuring that every ounce of precious biological material is folded back into the living world. The quietest, smallest destruction brings continuous, essential renewal to the darkest corners of the earth. The vast majority of life forms resting at the bottom of the ocean remain completely unnamed and entirely unknown. Scientists call this sprawling, invisible web microbial dark matter. When they sample the abyssal mud, they find fragments of DNA belonging to organisms that refuse to grow in a laboratory and defy all traditional biological classification. These unknown microbes make up a massive, hidden architecture of life that operates entirely beyond human understanding. They breathe strange chemicals, share alien genetics, and pulse with a quiet rhythm that we cannot yet hear. It is a humbling realization that the ocean floor is covered in a dense, living wilderness. We are wandering through a sprawling, ancient forest where we do not yet know the names of the trees. A microscopic domain of life exists that actively seeks out the most hostile, punishing conditions the planet can offer. Known as extremophile archaea, these ancient, single-celled entities do not just tolerate the crushing pressure and freezing cold of the deep ocean, they absolutely require it. If you were to bring them up to the gentle, warm shallows, their cellular walls would simply dissolve. They build their bodies with specialized proteins that fold tighter under extreme weight, using the immense gravity of the abyss as structural support. They thrive where biology is supposed to break, turning a lethal environment into a perfectly tuned sanctuary. It is a beautiful proof that what might feel like an unbearable weight to one traveler is simply a warm embrace to another. A single breath for a deep-sea microbe can take longer than the entire lifespan of a human being. In the sunlit world above, bacteria frantically multiply and divide every few hours in a race for dominance. But deep within the freezing, starved sediment of the abyssal plain, the microbial pace slows to an almost undetectable whisper. Nourishment is so incredibly scarce that these buried cells only gather enough energy to divide once every few centuries. They exist in a state of suspended twilight, hovering exactly on the border between life and pure geology. They do not rush, they do not fight, they simply endure the darkness with supreme patience. Time itself softens and bends when you learn to ask almost nothing of the world around you. Billions of tiny wanderers are currently drifting through the dark, waiting for a home they have never seen. The offspring of deep-sea crabs, worms, and snails begin their lives as microscopic larvae swept up in the freezing bottom currents. They surrender entirely to the slow, ancient flow of the heavy water. They drift blindly for months or even years, waiting to taste the specific chemical signature of a whale fall or a hydrothermal vent. Only when the water carries the right invisible scent do they finally drop down to the mud to begin their adult lives. There is a profound peace in allowing the unseen currents of the world to carry you exactly where you are meant to be. The true giants of the deep ocean are entirely invisible to the naked eye. We naturally look for massive whales, sprawling squid, and towering sharks when we imagine the heavy weight of life in the abyss. Yet, if you were to place every large animal in the ocean on one side of a scale and the invisible microbes on the other, the unseen world would outweigh the giants by an astonishing margin. The microscopic bacteria, viruses, and single-celled drifters make up more than 90% of all living mass in the sea. The most powerful, enduring presence in the dark is not made of massive bone and muscle, but of quiet, collective microscopic grace. There are places at the bottom of the world where you can stand on the shore of a lake that exists entirely underwater. In certain deep basins, ancient salt deposits have dissolved into the heavy seawater, creating pools of hypersaline brine. Because this mixture is significantly denser than the surrounding ocean, it sinks and pools in massive depressions on the muddy floor. These underwater lakes have their own distinct surface, complete with ripples and slow, rolling waves. It is a surreal, dreamlike landscape where the physical rules of the world seem to fold back over themselves. You can visibly see the exact line where the normal ocean ends and the toxic brine begins. The difference in density creates a sharp, shimmering boundary that looks just like a pane of frosted glass resting in the dark. Submersibles can actually float on this invisible surface, bobbing gently as if they had reached a new seafloor. Plunging a mechanical arm through this boundary creates slow, viscous ripples that drift across the heavy lake. It is a breathtaking illusion of a world within a world, a secret liquid horizon resting quietly in the dark. Falling through the shimmering surface of the brine pool is an entry into a perfectly sealed vault of time. These heavy lakes are entirely devoid of oxygen, making them incredibly toxic to almost all forms of deep-sea life. When an unwary fish or wandering crustacean slips below the boundary, they perish instantly in the dense salt. But without oxygen to fuel decomposition, their bodies do not decay. They remain perfectly preserved, suspended in the thick, heavy water like biological artifacts trapped in clear amber. It is a silent, tragic museum of the deep, holding onto the shapes of the past with a flawless, suffocating grip. A thriving ring of life crowds the shores of these lethal underwater lakes just inches away from the toxic boundary. Dense beds of specialized deep-sea mussels gather tightly around the rim of the brine pools. They form a thick, living crust along the rocky shores, sustained by chemosynthetic bacteria that feed on the methane gas leaking from the heavy water. They thrive on the absolute knife edge of survival, drinking the energy of a poison that would instantly destroy them if they slipped too far. They are a quiet testament to the resilience of life, finding a way to bloom right at the edge of destruction. The calm, flat expanse of the deep ocean floor eventually ends by sliding violently beneath the earth itself. At the furthest edges of the abyssal plains, massive tectonic plates are locked in a slow, agonizing collision. One slab of the ocean crust is forced heavily downward, grinding beneath the neighboring plate and plunging back into the molten mantle of the planet. These subduction zones are places of immense geological violence, marked by unseen earthquakes and crushing pressure. Yet this deep friction happens in near total silence, muffled by miles of heavy, freezing water. You are bearing witness to the slow, heavy breathing of the planet as it endlessly recycles its own skin. The slow friction of the continents pulls the ocean floor downward into vast, unimaginable canyons. This violent tectonic folding creates the deep ocean trenches, dark gashes in the earth that plunge miles below the already freezing abyssal plain. They are the deepest places on the planet, forming steep, plunging valleys that swallow everything falling from above. The walls of these trenches are scarred and jagged, shaped by the relentless, grinding pressure of the moving plates. Descending into one of these canyons feels like leaving the surface of the earth entirely behind. It is a descent into the deepest pockets of the world, wrapped in a heavy, comforting isolation. Not all energy rising from the earth arrives in boiling, volcanic plumes. Scattered across the dark sediment, cold methane seeps release a steady stream of ancient hydrocarbon gases bubbling quietly upward. Unlike the violent hydrothermal vents, these seeps do not alter the freezing temperature of the water around them. They simply provide a slow, steady leak of chemical energy from the decaying organic matter buried deep within the crust. Vast communities of tube worms and clams gather around these gentle bubbles, building quiet cities in the cold. It is a gentle, sustaining breath from the deep earth, nourishing life in the freezing dark without ever breaking the calm. Under the crushing weight of the deep ocean, natural gas forgets it is a gas and freezes into solid rock. When methane bubbles up from the seafloor and meets the freezing, highly pressurized water of the abyss, it undergoes a surreal physical transformation. The water molecules instantly crystallize around the gas, forming strange, yellow-white mounds of ice known as methane hydrates. These unstable ice formations cover the muddy sediment, trapping immense reserves of energy within their frozen structures. If brought to the surface, this deep-sea ice can actually be set on fire. You are looking at a world where cold and pressure conspire to freeze pure fire into quiet, resting stones. A creature entirely blind and soft has chosen to make its home by burrowing directly into frozen gas. Deep-sea ice worms gather by the thousands upon the exposed mounds of methane hydrates. They are tiny, pale pink scavengers that use specialized jaws to carve narrow tunnels into the unstable, freezing structures. By living inside the ice, they secure a safe harbor from larger predators while grazing on the dense mats of bacteria that coat the methane deposits. They carve a fragile, precarious existence in an environment that constantly threatens to dissolve around them. They navigate the extreme margins of survival, resting peacefully in a delicate home built entirely from frozen breath. The stillness of the deep ocean is an illusion masking the slow, unstoppable engine of the world. Every spreading ridge, grinding trench, and bubbling seep is part of a massive geological heartbeat that shapes the very continents you walk upon. The deep ocean floor is not a dead, static landscape, but a living, moving entity that slowly pushes and pulls the surface of the earth. New crust is born in the dark, travels across the abyssal plains over millions of years, and is finally swallowed back into the mantle. Feeling this ancient, immense rhythm allows your own small worries to dissolve into the steady, eternal breathing of the planet. The final layer of the ocean is not a flat destination, but a sudden, plunging drop into the absolute extreme. Dropping past the abyssal plains, you enter the hadopelagic zone, a realm existing exclusively within the narrow confines of the deep-sea trenches. Named after the underworld itself, this jagged landscape plunges downward in steep, rocky slopes, funneling the heavy water into unimaginably deep ravines. The cold here is absolute, and the darkness is so profound it feels like a physical substance closing around you. It is a stark, unforgiving frontier, demanding absolute surrender from anything brave enough to sink this far. A geological scar longer than the Grand Canyon rests entirely hidden in the dark waters of the Western Pacific. The Mariana Trench is a massive, crescent-shaped valley carved into the crust of the earth, plunging deeper into the dark than any mountain rises into the sky. If you were to drop the tallest peak in the world into this yawning chasm, its summit would still rest more than a mile beneath the surface of the sea. The sheer scale of this subterranean canyon is humbling, wrapping the mind in a beautiful, heavy vertigo. To hover above it is to look down into the deepest, quietest pocket of our entire planet. True pressure is not something you can measure, but a staggering physical weight that bends the very rules of biology. At the absolute bottom of the trench, a resting point known as the Challenger Deep, the ocean presses inward with a force of over 8 tons per square inch. This is the equivalent of holding the weight of 50 passenger jets on your shoulders, an environment so intensely compressed that water itself begins to change its fundamental properties. Nothing made of air or empty space can survive here, as the deep sea instantly flattens anything that refuses to yield. It is a place of absolute physical authority, requiring complete and total yielding to the heavy water. The deepest living fish on Earth does not look like a hardened, armored monster, but rather a delicate, translucent ghost. The Mariana snailfish thrives at the absolute limits of biological endurance, resting nearly 5 miles below the sunlit surface. Instead of building a heavy, rigid body to fight the crushing environment, it swims in a state of soft, watery surrender. Its skin is completely transparent, lacking scales and heavy bones, allowing the heavy ocean to simply pass through it without causing harm. It navigates the most extreme environment on the planet by being incredibly gentle, proving that softness is often the greatest strength of all. Tiny, familiar shapes take on startling, giant proportions when pushed into the most isolated ravines of the world. In the deepest trenches, scavengers known as amphipods, creatures that look much like the tiny sand fleas on a bright beach, grow to the size of a human hand. These pale, armored crustaceans swarm the dark sediment, thriving in a realm where no other complex predators can follow. They act as the final, quiet cleanup crew of the Earth, processing whatever organic matter manages to survive the long, punishing descent from above. They endure the crushing weight of the deep with a stubborn, silent grace, endlessly recycling life at the very bottom of the world. The secret to surviving the extreme deep is not found in thick muscles, but in a microscopic, life-saving chemical shield. Under the immense weight of the hadal zone, the very proteins that build a living cell are squeezed so violently that they normally buckle and collapse. To prevent this microscopic destruction, trench-dwelling creatures saturate their own tissues with a stabilizing molecule called apizolite. This chemical acts as a tiny internal scaffold, propping up the fragile architecture of life against the crushing force of the heavy water. It is an invisible, perfect defense mechanism, quietly holding the shape of life intact against the heaviest forces on Earth. You will not find a single, familiar seashell resting in the mud of the deepest oceanic trenches. As the crushing pressure of the water column increases, the ocean becomes highly corrosive to calcium carbonate, the vital building block used by ales and clams to grow their protective homes. Below a specific, invisible boundary in the abyss, these minerals simply dissolve back into the freezing water. The creatures that live down here must abandon heavy armor, relying instead on soft tissues and flexible skins to survive. The heaviest place on the planet strips away all rigid defenses, asking life to exist in a state of absolute, beautiful vulnerability. The jagged walls of a deep-sea trench do not just isolate the darkness, they actively gather the falling memories of the sunlit world. Because the trenches are shaped like massive, steep-sided valleys, They function as immense geological funnels resting at the bottom of the sea. As marine snow and organic debris drift across the abyssal plain, the gentle bottom currents sweep them slowly over the edge, sending a concentrated cascade of nutrients tumbling down the rocky slopes. This creates surprising, dense pockets of life clustered at the very bottom of the ravines. Even in the most remote, forbidding canyons on Earth, the ocean finds a way to gently cradle and nourish the weary travelers. Every deep-sea trench is an inverted island, completely cut off from the rest of the world by a vast, impassable ocean. Because the creatures that have adapted to the crushing weight of the hadal zone cannot survive if they move up into the shallower waters, they are permanently trapped in their deep ravines. This absolute isolation means that the life found in one trench is entirely different from the life found in another, even if they are relatively close on a map. They evolve in perfect, undisturbed bubbles of deep time, forging shapes and habits seen nowhere else. Each dark canyon holds its own secret, breathing world, a quiet kingdom built specifically for the shadows. The true majesty of the hadal zone is not just what lies at the bottom, but the dizzying, unimaginable weight of what stands above it. Resting on the floor of a deep trench, you are not simply in a dark valley. You are sitting beneath a vertical column of water almost 7 miles high. Above you stretches the freezing abyss, the dim twilight, and finally the bright, chaotic surface, all stacked in a massive, heavy liquid sky. The realization of that sheer physical scale washes over you, shrinking the human experience down to a tiny, peaceful speck. Floating under the full, monumental weight of the ocean, you can finally let go of everything, perfectly held by the quiet immensity of the world. Time is not an absolute constant, but a flexible rhythm that bends under the weight of the freezing deep. In the warm, sunlit shallows, biological clocks tick rapidly through quick lifespans, frantic heartbeats, and sudden endings. But as you sink into the near-freezing temperatures of the abyss, the metabolic metronome slows to a profound, heavy crawl. Cellular processes that take seconds on the surface are stretched into long, quiet minutes. The cold does not stop life. It simply asks it to exist in a beautifully extended state of grace. You are entering a realm where rush and urgency have been entirely erased from the biological record. To truly understand deep time, you must look at a creature that outlives empires in the freezing dark. While we measure our lives in decades, the Greenland shark calculates its existence in continuous, slow-motion centuries. Roaming the deep, icy waters, these quiet giants can live for over 400 years, reaching maturity only after a century has already passed. A single shark swimming today was likely born before the invention of the telescope, moving silently through the deep while entire human civilizations rose and fell above. They are living time capsules, breathing testaments to the incredible patience required to survive the long dark. The oldest living animals on the planet do not roam, but sit perfectly still on the deep, rocky slopes. Certain species of deep-sea black coral have been slowly building their branching, skeletal homes for over 4,000 continuous years. They drop their tiny anchors onto the seamounts and simply refuse to yield to the passing epochs, adding less than a fraction of a millimeter to their height each year. They have watched the slow, creeping currents drift past since the days when the pyramids were newly built. Standing motionless in the dark, they prove that ultimate endurance belongs to those who learn to simply stay. The water flowing over the deep plains is on a journey that takes 1,000 years to complete. The global ocean conveyor belt is a massive, slow-moving system of currents that connects every ocean on Earth, driven by differences in temperature and salt. A single drop of water that sinks in the freezing Arctic will travel slowly across the dark floor of the Atlantic, wrapping around the globe before finally surfacing in the Pacific centuries later. It is a planetary circulatory system moving with immense, unhurried purpose. To touch this deep water is to touch a quiet traveler that has witnessed the slow turning of the entire world. Survival in the deep is rarely a matter of acquiring more energy, but of learning how to need almost nothing at all. Because meals are so infrequent in the cold margins, many deep-sea creatures operate on a fraction of the caloric intake required by their surface relatives. Their hearts beat only a few times a minute. Their gills draw in oxygen with slow, deliberate spacing, and they expend zero effort on unnecessary motion. They treat every single ounce of stored energy as a precious, irreplaceable treasure. It is a profound, quiet efficiency, teaching us that sometimes the secret to endurance is simply asking less of the world. The ultimate act of maternal devotion occurs in the freezing dark, stretched out over an agonizingly beautiful length of time. A deep-sea octopus finds a rocky outcrop on the abyss to lay her clutch of pale, teardrop-shaped eggs. She wraps her arms securely over them and refuses to move, resting in the bitter cold for 4.5 continuous years. She does not hunt. She does not eat. She simply guards her future against the shadows as her own body slowly fades. It is the longest known brooding period of any animal on Earth, a quiet, motionless sacrifice made entirely for love. Deep beneath the muddy seafloor, there are microscopic entities that have forgotten what it means to be fully awake. Trapped inside layers of ancient clay that settled millions of years ago, communities of deep biosphere microbes exist in a state of nearly perfect suspended animation. They are technically alive, but their metabolic fires burn so incredibly low that they only consume a single molecule of food every few decades. They are passengers locked in stone, waiting out eternity with an impossible, microscopic calm. They blur the line between living biology and silent geology, showing that life can stretch itself almost infinitely into the dark. The very floor of the ocean is carrying you forward at a pace that perfectly matches the growth of your own body. The massive tectonic plates beneath the abyssal plains are constantly shifting, pushed apart by volcanic ridges and pulled down by deep trenches. But this monumental, world-altering collision happens at the incredibly slow speed of just a few inches every year, the exact rate at which a human fingernail grows. You are resting on a massive geological conveyor that moves with soft, biological slowness. It is deeply reassuring to realize that the most powerful forces on Earth take their time to slowly reshape the world. The most accurate clocks in the world possess no gears, resting instead as soft, pale layers of deep-sea mud. Because the abyssal plains are entirely shielded from the chaotic weather and eroding winds of the surface, the gentle rain of marine snow falls completely undisturbed. It accumulates at an agonizingly slow rate of just 1 millimeter every 1,000 years, perfectly stacking the chemical memories of the ocean in sequential, unbroken lines. This sediment is a flawless diary of the Earth, a massive, unedited book recording every shift in climate and temperature since the dawn of life. The ocean does not forget. It simply files everything quietly in the dark. There is a profound, healing comfort in sinking into a place where human time simply ceases to exist. We spend our waking hours trapped in a web of frantic schedules, constantly measuring our worth against the rapid ticking of a clock. But the deep ocean does not know what a minute is. It does not care about deadlines, and it refuses to be rushed by the anxieties of the surface. It operates on a scale of centuries, millennia, and epochs, wrapping all frantic worries in a heavy, freezing stillness. Allowing your mind to align with this ancient, geological rhythm brings a deep, permanent sense of rest. The most profound stillness in the deep ocean often arrives from the sunlit surface carried by a creature holding a single, massive breath. While the permanent residents of the abyss breathe the heavy water, the sperm whale bridges the two worlds by taking the air of the sky into the crushing dark. It fills its immense lungs, tilts its heavy head downward, and plunges miles into the freezing bathypelagic zone. For over an hour, it navigates the total void without taking another sip of oxygen, relying entirely on a heart that beats with slow, deliberate discipline. It searches for giant squid in the lightless canyons, moving with a heavy, unstoppable grace. It is a breathtaking act of endurance, carrying a tiny pocket of the bright world into the absolute night. A human descending into the heavy water risks a lethal bubbling of nitrogen in the blood, yet the great marine mammals rise and fall without a single consequence. When extreme pressure compresses air inside a body, it pushes dangerous gases directly into the bloodstream. The deep divers bypass this deadly trap through a beautiful twist of anatomy. Instead of storing their air in hollow spaces, they pack the oxygen they need directly into their deep red muscle tissue. Their blood floods with specialized proteins that grip the oxygen tightly, keeping it perfectly safe from the heavy squeeze of the abyss. They do not fight the crushing weight. They simply change their own chemistry to move safely through it. The most effective way to protect a fragile chest from the weight of the deep sea is to intentionally let it collapse. The ribcage of the deep-diving whales lack the rigid, barrel-like structures meant to withstand immense pressure. They possess flexible cartilage that allows the heavy ocean to gently press their lungs completely flat. By forcing all the remaining air out of their respiratory system, they eliminate the dangerous, empty spaces that the pressure would otherwise crush. They sink into the deep dark with lungs entirely devoid of breath, becoming as dense and solid as the heavy water surrounding them. It is a perfect, yielding surrender, proving that true resilience often comes from bending entirely to the weight of the world. The most peaceful slumber on the planet happens while falling slowly into a freezing, pitch-black abyss. The northern elephant seal spends months in the open ocean, facing the constant threat of surface predators that never rest. To find true safety, it takes a deep breath and lets itself sink heavily into the deep twilight zone. As it drifts downward, its brain shuts off the waking world and it enters a profound, restorative sleep. It spirals slowly through the cold water like a falling autumn leaf, completely relaxed and entirely vulnerable, yet perfectly protected by the isolation of the deep. It is a breathtaking surrender to gravity, allowing the heavy ocean to rock them gently into a safe, silent dream. The deepest plunge ever recorded by a breathing creature does not belong to a famous giant, but to a quiet, elusive wanderer of the deep. The Cuvier's beaked whale is a modest, scarred hunter that completely avoids the chaotic attention of the surface world. When it dives, it does not stop at the twilight zone or the midnight zone, but continues plunging downward for nearly 2 miles. It reaches the absolute edge of the abyssal plain, hunting for deep-water squid in an environment with pressure so intense it would instantly flatten a steel submarine. It stays in this freezing, lightless extreme for hours on a single gulp of air. It holds the quiet title of the greatest diver on Earth, finding its ultimate peace in the deepest, heaviest corners of the sea. A reptile wearing a shell of thick, rubbery skin regularly abandons the warm, tropical beaches to hunt in the freezing shadows. The massive leatherback turtle is a cold-blooded wanderer that generates its own internal heat, allowing it to plunge into the chilling depths of the twilight zone. It dives hundreds of yards down, peering into the gloom for the soft, pulsing bioluminescence of deep-sea jellyfish. Its tear-shaped body features a perfectly streamlined design for this dark descent, cutting through the dense water with long, slow sweeps of its massive flippers. It enters a realm entirely alien to its nesting grounds, trading the bright sun for a cold, liquid night. It makes a remarkable journey between 2 vastly different worlds, bridging the warm sand and the freezing dark in a single breath. The deep ocean does not exist as a sealed vault, but operates as a sprawling kingdom that relies heavily on visitors from the bright roof of the world. The permanent residents of the abyss live in a realm of perpetual starvation, waiting for scraps to slowly drift down from above. The diving mammals and reptiles act as vital, living elevators connecting these 2 distant realms. They hunt in the deep canyons, and they carry the energy of the deep sea back up to the surface. Their continuous, rhythmic plunging physically stirs the water column, mixing the freezing, nutrient-rich depths with the warm, sunlit layers above. They act as heavy, breathing needles that weave the top of the ocean and the bottom of the world into a single, beautiful tapestry. The simple act of a whale returning to the surface to breathe unleashes a massive, invisible wave of biological creation. When the deep divers ascend from the freezing dark, they bring more than just their immense bodies back to the light. After feeding on the rich, hidden squid and fish of the abyss, they release sprawling plumes of digested nutrients near the sunlit surface. This sudden delivery of iron and nitrogen acts as a powerful fertilizer, instantly triggering massive blooms of microscopic phytoplankton. These tiny plants form the absolute foundation of the entire oceanic food web, feeding everything from tiny krill to the largest whales. The quiet hunters of the dark secretly tend the bright gardens of the surface, nourishing the world with every upward breath. The journey back to the sky, never I, involves a frantic rush, but requires a slow, calculated ascent to match the shifting weight of the world. After spending hours wrapped in the crushing embrace of the deep, a diving whale must return to the air with profound patience. If it kicks upward too violently, the sudden change in pressure will shock its massive body. Instead, it lets the natural buoyancy of its rich, fatty tissues do the work, gliding slowly upward in wide, graceful arcs. The heavy darkness begins to fade, yielding to a gradually brightening blue that signals the approaching sun. It represents a peaceful, floating resurrection, a gentle return to the bright world after a long, restful visit to the shadows. The true secret to surviving in the most unforgiving corners of the earth relies on commanding your own heart to simply slow down. As the great divers leave the surface behind, the bitter cold of the water triggers a profound, automatic reflex deep within their nervous system. The rapid, powerful heartbeat required for surface swimming drops instantly to a slow, methodical thud, sometimes beating just 2 or 3 times a minute. This incredible pacing conserves every precious ounce of oxygen, wrapping their internal organs in a state of deep, metabolic calm. They do not panic in the dark. They simply quiet their own rhythm to match the eternal stillness of the heavy water. Listening to this slow, ancient pulse reminds you that true peace always arrives when you slow down the beating of your own heart. The most effective way to escape a predator in the dark is to shine a brilliant spotlight directly upon them. The Atala jellyfish drifts through the midnight zone looking like a deep crimson crown. When it is attacked in the pitch-black water, it does not try to outswim its hunter. Instead, it triggers a spectacular, blinding ring of bright blue bioluminescence that circles its bell like a spinning siren. This dazzling display acts as a biological burglar alarm, meant to attract an even larger predator from the surrounding shadows to eat its attacker. It is a brilliant, chaotic gamble that turns the absolute darkness into a sudden, blinding cry for help. A smoke screen in a lightless world is completely useless unless you make the smoke itself glow. Surface squids escape danger by releasing clouds of dark ink to confuse their enemies. In the deep ocean, where everything is already perfectly dark, a black cloud offers absolutely no protection. To survive, deep-sea squids have evolved a thick, bioluminescent ink that shines with a fierce, radiant blue light. When threatened, they eject this glowing, viscous liquid directly into the face of their attacker, blinding them with a sudden, localized galaxy of light. The squid slips away quietly while the predator is left fighting a phantom. Sometimes the best way to disappear is to leave behind something far brighter than yourself. The ability to spit liquid gold is not a myth of ancient kings, but a reality for a small, unassuming fish in the abyss. The shining tubishuter navigates the dark waters equipped with a specialized tube resting just behind its gills. When a larger hunter closes in, the fish violently expels a massive, glowing cloud of golden blue fluid from the shoulder organ. This bright, shimmering spew illuminates the pitch-black water, startling the predator with a sudden burst of vivid color. The glowing chemicals linger in the heavy currents long enough for the tiny fish to dart away unseen. It paints the heavy water with temporary light, using beauty itself as a weapon against the dark. Even the solitary hunters of the deep have found a way to speak to one another through flashes of silent light. The velvet belly lantern shark patrols the twilight margins wearing a sleek, dark coat lined with thousands of microscopic photophores. While these lights help camouflage their bellies from predators below, they also serve as a hidden, flashing language for other sharks nearby. By pulsing these intricate, glowing patterns along their flanks, they coordinate movements and signal their identities across the murky water. They flash invisible messages back and forth in the gloom without making a single sound. They weave a quiet, glowing conversation in the heavy water, proving that no one is ever entirely silent or alone. A deep-sea octopus can convince the world it is nothing more than a gentle snowfall of drifting debris. The Staurotuthis octopus hovers in the bathypelagic zone with arms connected by a deep, umbrella-like web of skin. Instead of relying on strong muscles to catch swift prey, it has replaced the gripping power of its suckers with specialized organs that emit a soft, pale light. It hangs motionless in the dark and turns on these gentle blue beacons, perfectly mimicking the slow, glowing drift of falling marine snow. Small crustaceans, drawn to the comforting light, swim directly into the waiting web. It catches the wandering world not with force or speed, but with the quiet promise of a familiar glow. Wearing specialized yellow sunglasses is the only way to see the truth hiding in a blue, bioluminescent void. Because almost all light produced in the deep ocean is a bright, piercing blue, many predators have learned to disguise themselves within that exact wavelength. To cut through this biological camouflage, several deep-sea fish have evolved distinct, yellow-tinted lenses inside their large eyes. This yellow filter perfectly blocks out the ambient blue light of the twilight zone and the glowing counter-illumination of hidden prey. It strips away the watery illusions and reveals the stark, dark silhouettes of the animals hiding within the glow. They possess the rare ability to see past the bright distractions of the world and look directly at what is real. The darkest place on the planet is actually defined by billions of tiny, brilliant explosions happening constantly in the void. When we imagine the deep ocean, we naturally picture an unbroken, heavy blackness stretching endlessly in every direction. Yet, if you were to sit perfectly still in the bathypelagic zone, the water around you would continuously spark and flash like a restless night sky. Every passing current triggers microscopic plankton to flare, while distant jellies pulse and unseen squid release glowing clouds into the cold. The darkness is never truly empty, but constantly pierced by solitary, breathtaking bursts of living light. The void is beautifully alive, speaking in brief, bright sparks that refuse to be swallowed by the heavy night. A random scattering of bright sparks can suddenly organize itself into a perfect, rolling wave of synchronized light. Certain species of deep-sea comb jellies and colonial siphonophores do not just flash their lights randomly in the dark. When a deep current brushes against their trailing bodies, the bioluminescence does not simply turn on all at once. It travels down their delicate forms in a perfectly timed, rhythmic cascade. One glowing cell triggers the next, creating a mesmerizing, cascading ripple of blue and green light that flows across their bodies like a liquid heartbeat. It is a spectacular choreography performed for an empty audience, a perfect wave of light rolling endlessly through the deepest dark. The most efficient light bulb ever created generates absolutely no heat when it is turned on. When humans create light with fire or electricity, we waste a massive amount of energy as raw, burning heat. But the bioluminescence created by deep-sea creatures relies on a profoundly elegant, cold chemical reaction. Within their specialized cells, a light-emitting molecule called luciferin mixes with an enzyme called luciferase, instantly producing a brilliant, pure glow. Almost 100% of the energy released in this reaction becomes pure visible light, without warming the surrounding tissue by even a fraction of a degree. It is a beautiful, flawless alchemy that allows fragile creatures to illuminate the freezing water without ever burning themselves. The greatest light show on Earth has been running continuously for millions of years without a single human observer. Every second of every day, the pitch-black water of the ocean pulses with a sprawling, unseen visual symphony. Trillions of glowing bacteria, flashing sharks, and sparkling jellies perform a massive dance in the freezing cold. They navigate a heavy world entirely built from sudden, brilliant bursts of color. This massive glowing web stretches across the entire planet, perfectly hidden beneath the dark waves. We are separate from this beautiful display, resting on the surface while the deep ocean dreams in sparks. It is deeply comforting to know the world fills itself with radiant light, even when you are not there to witness it. The final resting place for the frantic energy of the sunlit world is a soft, endless bed of falling snow. Every creature that swims, every shell that grows, and every bloom of algae eventually surrenders to the heavy pull of gravity. They break apart into microscopic fragments, sinking slowly through the water column in a continuous, gentle rain of detritus. This marine snow falls without pause, blanketing the jagged volcanic rocks of the abyss in thick, yielding layers of organic clay. The ocean does not lose its history. It simply buries it in a quiet, pale blanket of memory. Watching this eternal settling reminds you that everything eventually finds a soft place to rest at the bottom of the world. The most powerful force regulating the chaos of the Earth's atmosphere is a vast desert of dark mud. As the surface of the planet heats and churns, generating massive storms and trapping heavy carbon, the abyssal plains act as an immense, stabilizing sponge. They quietly absorb the excess heat and carbon dioxide pulled down by the sinking currents, locking these volatile elements safely away in the freezing sediment for thousands of years. The deep ocean operates as the ultimate planetary sink, a heavy counterbalance to the frantic, changing weather of the sky. It bears the invisible burdens of the surface with a vast, uncomplaining capacity. There is a profound comfort in knowing that the Earth possesses a deep, silent space capable of absorbing the chaos we cannot carry. The floor of the ocean is not woven just from the remnants of Earth, but is slowly paved with the ashes of stars. Every single day, tons of microscopic cosmic dust enter our atmosphere, remnants of ancient asteroids and distant solar winds. Because the deep ocean is completely shielded from the eroding forces of rain and wind, these tiny extraterrestrial particles drift down and settle perfectly undisturbed in the abyssal mud. They mix seamlessly with the shells of deep-sea plankton, binding the history of the universe with the biology of the deep. You are floating over a landscape that is equal parts marine biology and quiet astronomy. It is a beautiful realization that the deepest, darkest pockets of our planet are holding the quiet, falling embers of the cosmos. The magnetic memory of our planet is permanently written into the cold, hardening rock of the deep sea floor. When fresh magma erupts from the mid-ocean ridges and meets the freezing water, the iron minerals inside the rock align themselves directly with the magnetic poles of the Earth. As the stone instantly cools, it locks that directional compass perfectly in place, creating a striped geological recording of every time the planet's magnetic field has flipped over millions of years. This vast submerged crust acts as a massive, silent tape recorder unspooling across the abyss. The Earth does not forget its own shifting nature, but carves it quietly into the dark stone. Feeling the weight of this perfectly preserved history anchors you firmly to the slow turning of the world. The heavy currents sweeping over the deep plains do not follow the same paths they did when the dinosaurs walked the Earth. Over millions of years, The slow drifting of the continents has opened entirely new oceans and squeezed ancient seas out of existence. As these massive land masses shifted, the deep oceanic currents were forced to find new ways to flow around the changing architecture of the globe. They altered their routes with an agonizing, beautiful slowness, adapting entirely to the shifting boundaries of the physical world. The water does not fight the moving stone. It simply bends its ancient paths to accommodate the new shape of the earth. It teaches a quiet lesson in yielding, showing that even the most powerful forces find peace by flowing gracefully around immovable obstacles. The creatures of the abyss have watched the surface world end multiple times without ever breaking their quiet rhythm. Throughout the history of the Earth, massive climate shifts and meteor impacts have repeatedly wiped out the bright, chaotic life of the sunlit shallows. Yet the animals living miles below the surface were largely insulated from the destruction, relying on slow metabolisms and the immense buffering weight of the heavy water to survive. They simply waited in the freezing dark while the world above burned and cooled, carrying the torch of biological life through the most devastating chapters of planetary history. They are the ultimate, quiet survivors of apocalypse. There is a deep, abiding safety in this ancient resilience, a promise that life will always find a way to persist in the dark. The entire stability of the breathable world relies entirely on the heavy, unseen shoulder of the deep ocean. Without the massive, freezing volume of the bathypelagic and abyssal zones, the temperature swings of the surface would be far too violent to support complex life. The immense thermal mass of the deep water absorbs the brutal heat of the summer sun and slowly releases it during the bitter winter, smoothing out the jagged extremes of the climate. It acts as a giant, planetary thermostat hidden completely out of sight. The deep sea asks for no recognition, quietly ensuring that the air you breathe remains gentle and steady. It is profoundly humbling to realize your own daily comfort is secured by a freezing, lightless realm you will never touch. The absolute margins of habitability are not empty wastes, but vibrant sanctuaries for life that refuses to quit. Whether huddled around a scalding toxic vent or resting in the suffocating brine pools, the communities of the deep ocean prove that biological life is fiercely, beautifully stubborn. They do not merely survive their punishing environments, they master them, weaving complex, delicate webs of dependency and grace in places that should be entirely barren. They take the absolute worst conditions the planet can offer and transform them into bustling, quiet cities of survival. They find absolute harmony in the spaces the rest of the world has completely abandoned. Watching this relentless persistence reminds you at blooming is always possible, even in the coldest and darkest spaces you might find yourself. True peace is often found by simply stepping completely out of the race. The creatures of the sunlit shallows are locked in a frantic, exhausting struggle for speed, dominance, and the brightest displays of color. By retreating into the deep margins of the world, The animals of the abyss have entirely opted out of that chaotic game. They trade the warmth and energy of the sun for a heavy, freezing stability that requires almost no effort to maintain. They have discovered that abandoning the crowded center of the world allows you to exist with a breathtaking, unhurried grace. Sometimes the most profound relief comes from letting go of the need to be seen and simply resting in the quiet margins. Looking into the deepest waters of the ocean is the closest you will ever come to seeing the face of time. Everything in the abyss moves at a pace that stretches the mind. The slow creep of tectonic plates, the agonizing growth of deep corals, and the endless falling of marine snow speak to a rhythm measured in millions of years. The deep ocean serves as a dark, perfect mirror reflecting the true geological age of our planet back to us. It invites you to release your grip on minutes and hours, replacing them with the steady breathing of eternity. Allowing yourself to sink into this ancient perspective washes away the anxieties of the day, leaving only a profound, lasting stillness. Water that has rested in absolute darkness for centuries does not stay hidden forever. Far across the globe from where the freezing currents first sank into the abyss, the deep ocean eventually collides with steep continental shelves. Forced upward by the rising architecture of the earth, these heavy, cold rivers of water finally begin their long ascent back toward the sky. They carry with them the massive accumulation of nutrients gathered during their long journey across the barren plains. It is a slow, silent resurrection of fallen life. The depths eventually return all that they have held, lifting the memory of the dark back into the light. The arrival of ancient deep water into the bright shallows triggers a spectacular explosion of color. As the nutrient-rich currents break through the thermocline and mingle with the sunlit layers, they act as a sudden, massive breath of life for the surface world. The microscopic plants that form the foundation of the ocean bloom in staggering numbers, feeding vast schools of fish, soaring seabirds, and migrating whales. The ancient, freezing water from the absolute bottom of the world becomes the very fuel that powers the brightest, most frantic life on the surface. There is a beautiful symmetry in knowing that the bustling canopy of the ocean is sustained entirely by the quiet patience of the deep. The heartbeat of the ocean never truly stops. It simply circles the globe in a breath that takes a millennium to complete. This vast, interconnected loop of sinking frost and rising warmth forms the great ocean conveyor belt, a continuous cycle that binds the entire planet together. It distributes heat, dissolves carbon, and carries the wandering larvae of deep-sea creatures across invisible, liquid highways. Every drop of water plays its part in this massive, enduring rhythm, seamlessly transitioning from the freezing dark to the warm, bright waves and back again. It never rushes and it never fails. You are resting within a world that knows exactly how to heal and balance itself through a slow, endless cycle of returning. The most beautifully kept secrets on our planet belong to the sprawling, unmapped stretches of the abyssal plain. We have charted the craters of the moon and mapped the surface of Mars with greater precision than we have documented the floor of our own ocean. Millions of square miles of the deep sea remain completely unseen by human eyes, hiding ancient coral gardens, undiscovered thermal vents, and entire species drifting quietly in the dark. It is an immense, pristine wilderness existing right beneath our boats, holding its mysteries safely in the crushing cold. There is a profound comfort in leaving a part of the world completely alone, allowing it to rest safely in the dark without being understood. The anxieties of the waking world hold absolutely no weight when placed against the heavy permanence of the deep ocean. We spend our days navigating shifting landscapes of responsibility, constantly worried about the fragile architecture of our own lives. Yet miles beneath the waves, the immense basin of the sea remains entirely unbothered by the frantic rushing of the surface. The deep currents sweep over the same mud, the glowing jellies pulse in the same void, and the slow heartbeat of the earth continues exactly as it has for epochs. This quiet kingdom asks nothing of you and expects nothing in return. Knowing this massive, stabilizing peace exists at the bottom of the world allows you to simply let your own small worries drift away. The conscious mind naturally begins to quiet itself when it mirrors the absolute stillness of the heavy water. As we linger here in the deepest margins of the world, the need to analyze, to plan, and to move forward starts to gently dissolve. The thoughts that raced so loudly throughout the day are now filtered through miles of dense, cooling ocean, losing their sharp edges and frantic speed. You do not need to hold onto them anymore. You can let them sink, watching them drift down into the soft mud like falling marine snow. The mind becomes a vast, quiet basin, perfectly content to just exist in the beautiful, unhurried dark. True physical release comes when you allow the immense weight of the ocean to hold you entirely in place. Imagine the towering water column stacked above you, miles of heavy, cold fluid pressing inward with a perfectly even, comforting embrace. This is not a weight that crushes, but a heavy blanket that supports every weary muscle and tired bone. You do not need to support your own body in this space. The water carries you effortlessly, wrapping you in a dense, floating suspension where gravity simply ceases to matter. You are perfectly held in the quiet dark, allowing the ancient pressure of the world to rock you gently into absolute stillness. The final, solitary sparks of bioluminescence are beginning to fade, leaving behind a steady, enveloping night. One by one, the tiny blue and green lights that painted the deep water are slowly switching off, blending back into the velvet shadows. The glowing jellies drift further into the distance, and the anglerfish dims its patient lure. What remains is a pure, uninterrupted darkness that feels neither empty nor frightening. It is a thick, resting shade, a sanctuary woven from cold water and ancient time, asking you to finally close your tired eyes. The visual world has gone completely quiet, leaving you wrapped in a dark, beautiful blanket of perfect rest. The slow, rolling rhythm of the unseen bottom currents now matches the exact, gentle pace of your own breath. Far below the frantic weather of the surface, the deep water moves with a heavy, hypnotic sway, a slow pushing and pulling that takes centuries to cross the globe. You can feel that same ancient rhythm rising in your chest, a slow, heavy draw of air inward, filling the lungs with quiet peace, and a long, effortless release back into the dark. The ocean is breathing with you, a deep, synchronized pulse wrapping around your resting form. You and the heavy water are moving as one, falling slowly together into a state of profound, timeless calm. You are resting now in the quietest place on the planet. The surface world is miles away, a distant memory that can no longer reach you. Let your physical body sink deeply into whatever is holding you right now. Feel the tension leaving your shoulders, drifting away like sediment caught in a slow, deep current. Release the small muscles around your eyes, allowing them to soften in the absolute dark. Let your jaw drop slightly, surrendering the last remnants of the day. You are suspended in the heavy, comforting water, perfectly safe and entirely unseen. The deep ocean will continue to pulse, to breathe, and to turn while you sleep, standing guard over your rest. There is nothing left to carry, nothing left to see, and nothing left to do. Simply allow yourself to drift. If you found peace in this quiet descent, softly leave a like or subscribe for our next journey, sharing this calm with others who might need it. Sleep well, resting safely in the heavy, beautiful dark.